What's up you guys, it's Brady here with Gonzanook and Become Nova, and in this video we're going to talk about volume and intensity and a really important consideration that you should know before you make your muscle building program. So let's get into it. So as you hopefully know, and as we've talked about in just the history of this channel, is that volume and intensity are the two most important variables when it comes to muscle building. So in this video, we are gonna talk a little bit about intensity, but mostly volume, and specifically how we can make that volume the most effective volume as possible in order to build as much muscle as possible. So these are for people who want to build that quality lean muscle mass, gain better proportions, maybe just wanna look and feel better in and out of the gym, then this video is for you, and this video is going to help you a lot. I also want to remind you before we get started that we still are running a sale on Hypershred and Hypermass. So if you're looking for an epic program that is going to get you the results that you've been waiting for, then down below you can click the link and you can check out. It's literally over 50% off. And I can promise you that this is literally the most in-depth video courses and training programs that you're ever gonna find. So definitely give those a look if you're interested in saving a lot of money and getting the best results of your life. So we know that intensity is really how we build muscle. You know, you can lift as much as you want in the gym, but unless there's intensity there, then you're probably not gonna see that great of results, especially as you become more advanced in the lifting game. Intensity can be measured by your proximity to failure. So the closer you get to failing during a set, and by that we mean physically failing to the point where your muscles can't do any more reps, the closer you get to that point, the more anabolic that set becomes. But then the question arises is how much do we do? How many sets do we do per workout or per week or per muscle group? And there's a lot of questions there. And all those questions have to do with volume, because volume is essentially how much of the workload we're doing, while intensity is how hard we're doing that workload at. So once we understand intensity, then we can kind of move on to how much volume we should be doing. Now, typically on this channel, we've said anywhere between 10 to 20 sets per week per muscle group is going to be a really great place to start when it comes to your volume recommendation. The more advanced or intermediate you are, you're probably looking at 15 to 20, but anywhere between that 10 and 20 is probably a good place to start. And note that everyone is different, so you need to kind of test out different volume ranges for yourself and find out which one you're recovering well with, but also which one you're growing with too. But then the big question, which is what we're gonna specifically dive in with this video, is what is that 10 to 20 sets per week? You know, what dictates as a set, and how can we get the most out of that? Because the thing that we're gonna identify in this video is that not all volume is the same. Not all volume is equal. For instance, warm-up sets and things like that really should not count towards that 10 to 20 sets per week per muscle group. And there's a few other things that we're gonna talk about here. Only your working sets, we'll call them, should count. So these working sets are sets that are of high intensity and are anabolic enough, for lack of a better phrase. So these are sets that take you to near failure. Usually that reps in reserve of 1 to 5 is a great place to start. Even then though, not all volume is equal, because for instance, I could be doing biceps and maybe I'm doing alternating dumbbell curls, and I just never really feel it in my biceps when I'm doing alternating dumbbell curls. So after a few sets of doing alternating dumbbell curls for my biceps, and my biceps aren't worked that hard, should that really be considered as working sets for my biceps, when considering I could go do different exercises that would work my biceps way better and then probably exhaust me way more and actually build a lot more muscle? So hopefully basically this gets you thinking that not all volume is the same, in the fact where we need to make sure that our exercise selection is up to par and that we're picking the best exercises for our bodies to make sure that each set is as difficult as it can be, to make sure our working set really is a working set, and that the sets that we're adding to our overall volume is really even worth calculating. Now, when it comes to exercise selection, you know, as coaches, we always try to start people off with the basics, you know, those core exercises that are usually the best for everyone. And of course, you know, because we've been lifting for a decade or so, we pretty much know which exercises are going to usually work best. But there is definitely a big individualistic and personalized aspect to this all. So during your training programs, you know, if you're going to be doing like 3 chest exercises, let's say, in that day, typically you would hang on to those 3 chest exercises throughout several weeks so you can really progress at those exercises. But if you're doing an exercise that you just don't really feel that well, you probably just shouldn't be doing it, and you should definitely switch it out for a better exercise, because then all of a sudden your volume becomes a lot more anabolic and worth doing. So to summarize that a little bit, basically your volume, that 10 to 20 sets per week, are not warm-up sets, and they should be sets that are done by exercises that work very well for you. The last thing that makes volume not all equal is compound exercises. So what a compound exercise is simply an exercise that uses 2 or more joints. So like the squat, the bench press, overhead press, things like that. Even push-ups are compound exercises because you're using your shoulder and your elbow joints, making it a chest and tricep exercise. So because you're using multiple muscle groups, how do you really scale that out when it comes to tracking your volume, right? Basically what I would do is track it a little bit both. So let's use push-ups as an example. Push-ups are a compound exercise. They work your chest and your triceps. But I would say that for myself, push-ups definitely work my chest more. And I think that's, pretty much the same for everyone. So I would count that as a little bit of chest volume, but also keep in mind that it is a little bit of tricep volume as well. So what I'll do in the rest of my program is make sure if I'm doing a lot of pressing movements, for an example, if I'm doing a lot of overhead press, a lot of bench press, a lot of dumbbell press and push-ups or whatever it may be, I'm definitely going to limit how much tricep volume I'm doing for the rest of my program, because those do count as tricep volume, maybe not as a full set for tricep volume, but it does count. So the rest of my program, I'm gonna kind of, shift around and make sure I'm not doing as much direct tricep work to make sure it all balances out. So I know this might sound kind of complicated, but not all volume is the same. We wanna make sure, specifically if you are trying to build as much muscle as possible, that your program reflects that goal and it is specialized for that goal. We want your program to be as specific as possible. So we're going to choose exercises that work the best for you. We're going to make sure that those are all to a high enough intensity to be as anabolic as possible, and we're gonna do it in the volume range that is also most anabolic for you. We're going to stay away from junk volume, okay? So volume that it's just doing extra sets just cause, they're pointless, they're not really doing anything for you, and it's just racking up unnecessary fatigue. We're gonna avoid that. We're gonna avoid exercises that maybe don't target the muscle group as well as it could, or just are overall exhausting. For instance, if you're trying to grow your quads and you're squatting a lot, and squatting makes you really tired, but you don't feel your quads working that much, I would ask you, why are you squatting then when you could do all these other exercises that are going to be, less risky, higher reward, less fatiguing, and you're actually gonna feel your quads working better. Hopefully this video just gets you thinking, guys, because programming, it's a beautiful, intricate thing when done correctly, and when done correctly, programming is literally like the #1 way that you're gonna see results. So don't bother, trying to figure out which supplements to take, or all these other things that don't matter as much. Your programming is #1 when it comes to seeing epic results. So that's what makes a video like this so important, is to really understand all that goes into a program. So hopefully this video has helped you guys. If it has, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you don't want to deal with your program yourself and you just want to get on the right path right away, I would highly suggest checking out those programs, Hypermass and Hypershred, down below in the description, which are over 50% off right now. Our gift to you, just to say thank you for all the support. And once again, just thanks so much for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we will see you in the next video. Peace out.